You're listening to a podcast from the Finnish Football Show. You're listening to the Finnish Football Show. I'm Mark Wiltshire. Thanks for joining us for this Finnish Football Shorts episode. Although I said that in our earlier episode with Susanna Liljander, and then we talked for 45 minutes. But I think this one will be a little bit shorter because it's just me today here with new boy Ali Manson. Hi, Ali.
Boy, Mark, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. And we're gonna do a little follow on from an episode that me, Rich, Keke, and Mark did back in late 2020, where we answered a question from Kevin Moseley, who just wondered a little bit about our origins, how we came to be connected with Finland and Finnish football. And I thought, as Ali has joined us, that we could have a similar kind of conversation today in an episode that I've entitled "Who the F is Ally Manson?" So, Ali, thanks for getting together for this 15 minutes or so of nonsense, just so that people can get to know you a little bit better. And I think that me and the other guys will get to know you a little bit better as well through this. We all started last time by explaining what was our connection with Finland. So let's throw you that softball to start with.
Well, I'm going to surprise you all and all the listeners that, I reckon I'm probably the only one that it was through a Finnish female.
Really? Wow,
yeah,
you surprised me.
I know. Well, there has to be one, I guess. Yeah, no, I guess like us all, we've been led down a path of having a Finnish partner at some point or other. So yeah, through my now wife, I ended up in Helsinki and spending most of the past sort of 3 years, well, almost 4 years now in Helsinki. And then being a football lover, as I am, started broadening my horizons when it comes to Finnish football. And here I am.
Okay, but so before you got interested in Finnish football, what was your interest in football back in the UK?
So I'm a Manchester United fan. I'm a Man United member.
I could tell that from the Southeast England accent.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, me and a load of Liverpool fans all brought up in Guildford.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's funny because there is obviously a reputation and like a joke about United fans being down south. I do totally get that. Where I was in particular, it was mostly Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal. The odd United fan, don't get me wrong, but absolutely, I wasn't just me. They are one of the most popular clubs in the world. But yeah, I've been a United fan since, I guess, 5-6 years old. We'd get the full kit every year for Christmas, and then when I was about 15-16, started being able to get to some games. And I've been hooked ever since. But I've always had a real interest and love of football abroad as well, and like the other leagues throughout Europe. And that's something that some of my friends, I haven't been able to share that with them, because I would spend, I don't know, a Sunday morning watching the Serie A on Channel 4 highlights that James Richardson would host, and like Eurosport used to have, back in the day when they were showing football, like the French league and the Spanish league. So I've always been really interested in football away from the UK as well. And I feel like that interest hasn't died at all.
Of all the leagues that you could have found yourself following, Serie A, Bundesliga, Liga, you find yourself following now Veikkaus Liga.
Yeah, really having to start from scratch here.
So you said that you've been spending the last sort of 3 years in Helsinki, but you've been traveling backwards and forwards quite a bit as well.
Yeah, I have been. So right now I'm speaking to you from Southeast London. I now do have my residence permit for Finland. Since me and my wife got married, I then managed to get my residence permit. But on and off over the past almost 4 years, we've been doing a long distance relationship. I was able to spend a lot of time in Finland around COVID time, because yeah, there was no, we were in lockdown in the UK, and I was looking at that from afar and being like, I do not fancy going back to that. And Finland was a bit freer during that time.
Yeah,
So,
very much so.
and of course, then, at some point having to work. So whether that was actually being like, well, I have to come back to the UK to work, or, doing the odd bit of freelancing here and then in Helsinki that I could like invoice on the sly. But yeah, I am paying tax in both countries. I just in case the tax man's listening.
I don't think I don't think among our listeners there's any taxmen. I
No.
very much hope not.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know if I've talked much about this on this show before, but when I first moved our family to Finland 15 years ago,
Right.
but for the first 3 years, I was kind of commuting as well. So my job was in the UK, and we took this kind of small, or this giant baby step, shall we say. We moved here to see what it would be like living here, but I kept my job in the UK, and I was actually commuting every weekend for 3 years. I reckon I averaged about 47 weekends a year of commuting for 3 years, which, and I met this mad community of other guys, mostly guys, doing the same thing. We all had slightly different schedules, but they would sort of overlap, and you'd build up this bit of community. And then, and it's an adventure. I've got stories from that time, that I wouldn't have had otherwise, but also I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. I sometimes wish we had been a bit braver and just come here. But I had a reasonable job in the UK, and the kids were small and didn't think we could just uproot everything. That would have been really. I mean, I look back and think I've always thought myself as being quite risk averse, and then when I look back at my life, I think you've been quite brave, and yet I could have been even more reckless. So I think we just about found the right path.
I guess it is sensible as well, because I think, I don't know about you, but I love Finland, and I love the culture, and I love trying to learn about it as much as possible. But of course, I don't understand the day-to-day running of it all. My work contacts are so limited there. So I'm still, even though I'm moving officially in end of June, early July this year now, I'm still going to have one eye on what's happening in the UK and in London, because I feel like I shouldn't shut off that part of my work life, particularly to start off with, because I'm very excited about the move, but no idea what I'm going to do for.
It's a good point. So, I've got a small idea of what you do, but what are you doing for work at the moment in the UK, and what will you be looking to do over here?
So, I'm an actor by trade, but at the moment I'm directing a couple of plays at my old drama school, which is quite nice. So it's still heavily involved within the industry that I trained for, and the industry that I love. And so that's what I'm doing at the moment. I'm also actually doing a little bit of filming for a commercial in Finland on and off over the next couple of weeks. So I'm doing a little bit of acting and stuff that I'd like to do in Finland as well. But my expectations are still fairly low in the sense of the type of work from an acting point of view that I could get. So keeping my options open, that's for sure.
Theatre work or film work, maybe behind the scenes, if there's a way in?
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, the thing that I think Finland is definitely becoming a bit more open in regards to like international theatre and international collaborations and getting actors from abroad. But like any country, most of their work is going to be in their language. So, and I am learning Finnish. I have lessons every week, but that's still I've been learning it on and off for 2.5, 3 years now, but it's I'm still not fluent, and I won't be fluent for a while still. So trying to convince the Finnish public that I might be Finnish is still a long way off, I think.
I think though that in Helsinki you'll find it easier just to get around to daily life without the language, but also if you can find a place to work where you just say to people, look, let's speak Finnish, or let's try. They'll want to use English, and I find now I have conversations where one sentence is in English from the Finnish person and I speak in Finnish, and it's this big mishmash, but all of it helps both of us to kind of improve our language skills. So hopefully that will that'll work for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Because yeah, I agree. Sometimes I know exactly what I want to say, but then I'm a bit scared of the response in the language.
Yeah.
Because of course, particularly in Helsinki, they have all this slang and yeah, stuff that I'm still trying to pick up and understand. But yeah, I guess for me, the way how I feel comfortable in the language still is to speak it, and then listening is then like maybe the third thing after reading. So
Well,
yeah, so
I won't bang on too much about this now, but I do a little bit of work in the area of integration as well. So let's have a chat about this off
yeah,
off pod.
yeah, away from the Finnish football listen.
But
Yeah.
actually, one of our listeners, Jamie, moved to Finland last year, and he and I had a chat when he moved over, and hopefully, I was able to give him one or two little tips. So very happy to do it for you as well. But you know, that definitely doesn't have to be public. So last. So you developed this connection to Finland. You like football, and last summer, so summer 2022, you somehow connected with us. How did you find the Finnish Football Show? What were you thinking at the time?
Yeah, so initially my wife is very like forthright in and motivating in terms of what she thinks I am capable of, which is lovely. But you know, I definitely do need a kick up the backside sometimes when it comes to work. And she was like, "Why don't you do a Finnish football podcast from an English speaking point of view?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I am interested in Finnish football, and you know, blah blah blah." And I thought, okay, it's not a bad idea. And then maybe about 3 or 4 days later, I just stumbled across the Twitter account. And then I was like, oh, right, well, it's already been done. But these guys seem quite nice. And then I listened to an episode, really liked it, and then didn't think anything, you know, of it necessarily. And then maybe about a week after that, my wife was like, you should contact them. You should speak to them, see if you can get involved. You might be able to add something different to it. And so then, yeah, I then slid into Rich's DMs. And yeah, then it kind of came from there really. Then introduced me to you all, and yeah, I guess I've been hanging on the coattails ever since.
No, it's good to have more voices and more people there, and um, actually Keke was original, as he said in the previous episode. And if you haven't heard the previous episode, listener, then there's a link just below this one where you'll find that. But Keke was a listener to start with, and he wrote some blogs for a fanzine, and we got him involved in sort of reading out one or two of his blogs in an episode to try and involve some of the listeners. And then Rich went on paternity leave from work and from the pod for a while. Yeah. And of course, at that stage, it was me, Mark, and Rich. So we thought, well, let me see if someone else wants to fill his boots. And Keke came in and has been there ever since. And I think what you've proven is if you don't ask, you don't get. and
yeah.
And from my perspective, I feel like we don't need all four of us or all five of us in every episode. Mark's taken a break because of work and family commitments in the last half a year. We still hear from him in our WhatsApp group, but he's not been in the show, and we miss him, and it would be great when he comes back. But I think we could do more with just a couple of us. Me and Keke got together last week.
Yeah.
You and I are speaking today. I mentioned at the start of the show, me and my wife Satu, we recorded something with this young student who has published a thesis about female SJK Cloppit supporters. So I said to Satu, look, that's you. The thesis is about you. Let's see if she wants to speak. And it was, listener, if you haven't heard it yet, it'll either come out just before or just after this episode. So, and I think that came across well, and it keeps things a bit fresh, and shares the load. So I'm quite up for, you know, one episode. It's you and Rich get together and talk about whatever. Did you have any ideas when you first started thinking about this of what your show might be?
I think I was going to be looking at it from definitely like a Veikkausliiga and then potentially like the national team exploits. Essentially a very similar kind of
Okay.
thing to what, because I think what's so, if I'm going to toot the pod's horn a little bit, I think what we do quite well is we cover quite a few bases. We cover the Veikkausliiga, we cover the European games, we cover the national team, the Helmet, the Finns abroad as well, that Keki, he seems to have eyes in every corner
I know.
of the
I,
world.
I think that's the strength. Like I know my little corner of Finnish football, and I take care of the sort of the back office stuff.
Yeah.
And Keke seems to be following all these footballers and sort of flirting with them outrageously, male or female, on Instagram, on Instagram messages. And Rich seems to have this just encyclopedic knowledge of who played 3 games for Cups reserves 20 years ago. And Mark was really focused, he started from the angle mostly of the Hukiyat. So it's kind of a good balance. But if there's something that you in the future think, oh, I'd like to do something about this, then let's just do it. Like, we've got the freedom to do anything we all want, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And because I'm, going to be a bit more on the ground in Helsinki, from the summer, I'm hoping that will sort of allow me a bit more time to be able to, do a bit more for the pod as well.
Yeah. No, that would be good, because there's plenty of clubs around there at different levels. So you and the national team as well. So that'd be good to get a different perspective and sort of on the ground there in Helsinki, like you said. And listener, if there's something that you've been thinking, oh, I wish they'd tell me about this, or and it could be like a regular thing, or it could be a one-off, or it could be a short series, whatever. If there's a subject that you think, I'd like to know this about Finnish football, give us the ideas, because we Ali's just said 4 or 5 things that we think we cover pretty well. But let us know. That would be good. So when you're in Helsinki, you're a Man United fan. I've got a terrible feeling you're going to tell us that you're going to follow the big boys in Helsinki as well.
Yeah, I think that hasn't gone unnoticed across the pods. The fact that I'm supporting HJK. I mean, it's funny how, so all my life I've been a football stadium nerd, or like I could be on a road trip somewhere, as a kid, and we'd go past, I don't know, the Macclesfield Stadium or something, and I wouldn't be able to take my eyes off it. Whether it's beautiful on the eye or maybe less so on the eye. Nothing against Macclesfield. They were just the first club that came to my head. I've just always loved stadiums, and my wife, when we were first getting together, she lived in the block of flats right next to the Bolt Arena, and for me that was just a dream come true. You could hear them training, them playing, if you just opened the window.
And also, you've got the big brother just the other side of it as well, with the Olympic Stadium. That's like, for a stadium nerd, that's like stadium porn.
Yeah, it really is. And like, even like the pitches, like the training pitches next to it as well, it almost felt like you're in a little mini like sports village. We've moved slightly further away from that place now, which I'm a bit upset about, to be honest, because now instead of a 2-minute walk, it's like a 15-minute walk. But I guess beggars can't be choosers all the time.
But first world problems as well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's really where it came from for me. I would literally walk out the door and see that stadium, and rightly or wrongly, you see the HJK flags rather than HIFK outside the stadium, and I was like, oh, those guys seem good. And I feel like in the back of my head I had heard of HJK Helsinki before, like whether it's through like Football Manager, Championship Manager, whatever. So I feel like there was something in the back of my head that knew at least that they had existed, and I knew a little bit about like Finnish football players that had played in the Premier League and played abroad. I knew about Roy Hodgson and the fact that he'd, dabbled in Finnish football as well. So there was little bits that I sort of already had an idea about, but other than that, I just went, right, Hoyakor, they're playing. Oh yeah, turns out they are the record champions and they are the best team. All right, well, could still be fun.
Have you connected with any of the supporters groups down there?
No, I haven't, but I have now met a friend of ours now. We found out that he, is a season ticket holder and is a regular that goes home and away. So I'm thinking now from the summer that I can get a little bit more actively involved. I mean, I still, have been going to, 8, 9, 10 games a season, throughout the summer. But it would be quite nice now to, maybe get my own season ticket because it's so reasonable. It really is, and it's a good laugh, and the attendances there are not bad. I'm obviously for the European games, they all either sell out or sell very well, so there can be a good atmosphere generated there, which is sort of what I'm after, really.
A good atmosphere as long as everybody behaves themselves behind the goal.
Well, yeah, and there is that as well, and I have nothing to do with any of the fines. I have to go on record. I have never thrown a flare. I've never held a flare. I have been in the stadium when it's happened, but I cannot be accused.
No, quite right. I guess one needs to choose one's supporters group with care.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's. We did go into the heavy end a few times last season. Even my wife joined me on one of those, and it was actually very good natured when she was there, which I feel very grateful for. But yeah, of course, like with any let's say enthusiastic and loyal supporters there, it can always tip over the edge a little bit. So yeah, fingers crossed that if she comes again, which she probably will, because she really does enjoy going to games now, which I feel very very relieved about.
It does make a difference for sure. Yeah. With Satu being the season ticket holder with me, that makes match day that a bit easier because it's our thing that we do together as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully we'll see you up here. And we'll be able to take you into Carlsberg World on my Asper Stadion and buy you one of those expensive beers that I keep winning.
yeah, I would really like that. I believe is it off the top of my head, maybe early September or something around then when Hoyakor are up your way. So
yeah, let's arrange something. We've got at least 6 months to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Anything else that you think people need to know about you, or should we keep some secrets for when they actually get to meet you face to face at one of the games in future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy to answer questions. What I am really looking forward to, and I was speaking to Keke as well about this a couple of days ago, is now I will be in Helsinki, obviously going to home games for the Hukajat. Something that I want to do a bit more regularly, but hopefully maybe this year also squeezing in an away game as well, whether that's maybe to Belfast or I think he's also booked Slovenia as well, which would be a nice little trip. Might be time for a weekend away with the lads at some point.
It does sound enticing. It's always been a bit tricky for me to get there financially, but for us now for me and Satu, a trip to Helsinki to see Hukajat at home has become kind of an annual thing, which is nice. And we'll be down there early June, I think, for the Slovenia game. I think that's the one where we're targeting. So Friday night at the football, and then maybe a weekend in Helsinki. So if you're there, you might be just before you move back, but if you happen to be there, then we'll catch up.
Yeah, absolutely, that would be nice.
But I reckon that's it, Ali. Thanks for joining me. Satu told me it would be longer than 15 minutes, and she was right, as usual.
I'll take some of the blame for that.
Yeah, you'll be getting some, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I reckon, listener, that we have answered the question, who the F is Ally Manson? Ali, thanks for joining us.
Kiitos.
Cheers. You've been listening to the Finnish Football Show. You can find us online at finishfootballshow.com. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you're listening or watching. You can follow the Finnish Football Show page and group on Facebook and also on Instagram. See the links in the episode description. You can also connect with the 5 hosts on Twitter, at Explore Finland, at FC Suomi, at Escape to Suomi, at Kekkimuleri, and at Mano99. Links to the Finnish Football Show merch stores are also in the episode description.